Well, hello again. Peter Saturday from Universal Dork. I'm back again today to talk about a film that I saw last night called PRIMATE. Just decided to kind of wing it and go to the theater last night on a whim and check this thing out. Primarily because I've been seeing like little things about it here and there. Originally, I wasn't kind of really all that interested in checking it out, but I read a little blurb about it and come to find out that this film is using full-on practical effects for the chimpanzee and all of the gore in the film. So that's what kind of immediately drew me to this. And it kind of made me realize that I got to go check this shit out soon before this thing disappears from theaters. So last night I checked it out and I was pleasantly surprised. PRIMATE is a pretty awesome little new creature feature that feels like something that would have been made in the 1980s. Because back in the 80s, there was lots of films that were kind of coming out that were like killer animal films. You don't really see those all that much anymore. Especially in the 1980s, they had kind of like this killer monkey genre that was kind of popular for a bit. I would say that this is one of the best. But, you know, keep in mind, the killer monkey genre doesn't really have that many entries. There's like Monkey Shines. There's this movie called Shakma that's pretty interesting. I've always kind of enjoyed that. I guess you could say the Phenomena film from Dario Argento with Jennifer Connelly, that's kind of got a little bit of the killer monkey thing going on. And then there was that film with Elizabeth Shue and the monkey, and I can't think of what that's called right at the moment, but that one I remember being pretty decent as well. I think that this was maybe somewhat a little bit inspired by that sequence in that movie Nope, Jordan Peele film, which was one of the best sequences in the film with the killer monkey who is kind of like a killer monkey celebrity and attacks the people. You know, nothing against that sequence in Nope, but this monkey is like full on practical effects, person in suit. Now, if I would not have known that, I would have maybe assumed that this thing was CGI or like a real monkey, but I know that they would never use like a real monkey in a movie anymore, especially like a horror movie like this. But they utilize these practical effects in this film. If you are a fan of practical effects and just like bonkers kind of insane horror films that are super gory, you've definitely got to check this out. Now, this thing does not reinvent the wheel or anything. This isn't going to like give you some new insight on like socio-political ideology in the United States or any of that shit. This film has got a very straight and simple to the point plot. The action pretty much gets going immediately and really never lets up. There's a little bit of like character development, very little. The characters are very thin and sort of, I'm not going to say that they're stupid, actually. The more that I thought about it, I've heard people saying that the characters in this film are really dumb, but the more that I think about it, I don't really think that they really made that many bad decisions. In fact, I would say that these characters, when facing off against a killer monkey like this, made some pretty decent decisions that I hadn't even really thought of. So I'd say that the characters in this are actually pretty smart, although they're not very likable. It basically follows a group of like teen girls, or maybe they're like early 20s, and they're in Hawaii, and they're all staying at this girl's father's house, and her father is deaf, and that comes to play a little bit later in the film, but they're all staying there. This person is like mega rich, this like crazy mansion on the side of a mountain with no other neighbors nearby. Pretty cool setup for, you know, something like this, but this is almost like a monkey getting revenge on rich people, which is kind of cool. And they've got this pet monkey that sort of hangs around the house. He wears clothes, kind of like that monkey that Michael Jackson always hung out with. Yeah, there's one of those guys. And we all know in 2025 that hanging out with a pet monkey is not going to end well, because this movie kind of like capitalizes off of that mythology that's grown throughout the years, to where people having like pet chimpanzees, we hear about how things can go horrifically wrong. I think like Oprah Winfrey had some sort of like person on at one point. I remember seeing this woman who had been disfigured by a pet chimpanzee. I think she had her entire face ripped off. It was absolutely horrifying, the story of her. So all of that stuff that we've heard over like the past 20 years has really made a movie like PRIMATE like 10 times more horrifying than a film like Monkey Shines or like Shakma could ever be. So this movie, really, the star of the show is the fucking monkey. He looks cool as fuck. He's wearing, you know, some like kids' clothes and stuff. He seems like a pretty cool guy. He looks absolutely fantastic. The special effects work on him, all practical effects. His face is just brilliant animatronics. This thing looks absolutely convincing as a real life monkey, better than like, you know, the monkeys in Congo and stuff. Now those are pretty good, but this one goes a step further. So I hope that Primate really does well at the box office. So this will kind of send like a signal to all the people out there using like CGI animals and all of this stuff and bad CGI in films. This film, I've got to say, I'm not going to, you know, go too crazy on it with the plot. You just got to go see it. You want to see a killer monkey who goes absolutely bananas, no pun intended, just messes a bunch of people up in some of the gnarliest ways that I've seen in a long time. You're going to want to check this out. Now, the thing that I took away from this film was that this movie, kind of like Nope, it could have relied on using a CGI monkey for all of this stuff, and it would have just kind of been one of your, you know, run-of-the-mill kind of like newer films from like Blumhouse or something like that. And I would have probably never even seen it, or if I had, I wouldn't thought much about it after seeing it. But this film actually really proves to me that practical effects are the best. This movie is 10 times more terrifying than it would have been had they used a CGI monkey. Because this thing, when you have an actual tangible, real creature in front of you, sharing actual, you know, real space with actors, it really creates the illusion that these people are being tormented. Now, this monkey in the film apparently has rabies. He was bitten by like a mongoose, and then he goes absolutely crazy and starts just fucking everyone up in this house. And we all know that monkeys are like 10 times as strong as a human or something like that. I might be exaggerating. But that makes this thing absolutely terrifying to see on screen. I really can't recommend Primate enough. As long as you go into the film and you're not expecting some sort of social commentary or to learn some sort of lesson, just go see this film. If you like 80s films and films with practical effects monsters, this thing will impress you. I would say for a movie that's released in January, which is usually when they release a lot of their, you know, kind of crappy films, I'm going to say that this one is probably set to be, at least in my opinion, probably one of my favorite horror films of 2026. We'll see what else comes. This one gets right to the point. This is a party movie. Go see this with people. I saw it in the theater. There was not that many people in there, but I wouldn't expect there to be on a Thursday night. But I was hearing stuff from the people in the theater. There are tense scenes in this film. The suspense and action in here are really well done. So go check out Primate. I was a big fan, gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. I mean, 1 full star just for the monkey effects and the gore effects alone, and there is some gnarly shit in here. All right, so if you like the monkey genre, you know, monkey horror genre, check that shit out soon. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to you soon.